thrown in. Again, is a champion that has been seeing small little smatterings of play in very specific hands, probably more so as a counter, so preparing something to take early on for that top lane. But instead, Ultra Prime just take something themselves. Right, well, you've banned Yorick, let us take the Jace instead.
Yeah, and I do wonder if this sets EDG up for like a false sense of confidence. They take the Ambessa, which has the poor lane, but later on, quite good. And then it gets flexed into the mid lane. And then they just slam Renekton into it. But it's a lot of mind gaming right now. We're still very early, but the Corki pick will come through for EDG. Corki, still a bit of a flex, so not entirely sure if it'll be guaranteed to go into the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, we have also, I think, already this year seen a Corki top. Might have been Cube, I think, that pulled that out. So there's
Try flex Corki.
I hesitate to call it a triple flex. However, technically speaking, we could. The Leona locked in, and I think as the premier really engaged support that's left up on the table, given the way Fearless bans have worked so far. It's good to see that has been, I'd say, rightly prioritized by EDG, giving them a stable go button and a good couple of opportunities to engage. It is also very powerful 2 versus 2 if they do look to put on this Corki down on the bot side. But the Rise taken here for Ultra Prime, one of those picks that we don't frequently see make it all the way through to game number 3, honestly, of Fearless in the modern 2025. So getting their hands on this for Saber pretty much secures the 2 solo laners for Ultra Prime. And again, I will say that there is a element of flexibility. We could see both Zhong and Saber pilot both the Rise and the Jace. So it's now up to EDG to decide, can they find solo laners that are happy to match against both of those?
We're going to see the Ahri lock-in, which traditionally hasn't done particularly well into the Rise.
Yeah.
So Angel is going to have to really leverage the fact that once they hit level 6, they'll be able to move around quite a bit in order to make their impact in the game before Rise can get big. Getting into the second half of bans is pretty much a no-brainer to take out the Kai'Sa here with the Pantheon. It's a great dive, little two-man group to put together.
Yeah, and you'd like to think as well that maybe there's going to be a little bit more pinching on that support role, because there's not a lot of picks left for Ultra Prime to take. There's going to be a couple of other options that are maybe a little weaker. So, you know, Huracan, which I think is a really good pull away from the Xiaohao, is now giving Ultra Prime a lot of questions about if they are going to look to engage, if they are going to try to find a fight, how are they going to do it? And it might end up just being, well, Xiaohao, actually, you've got to take this Pantheon. You're now our engage, and we'll try and find something else from the jungle that can help you.
Yeah, and thinking about this bottom lane a little bit here, because it's almost guaranteed that Corki's going to go down there unless CDZ is going to pull a cube. Now you're in a scenario...
I'm confident that Corki's going bot lane. That's my...
Yeah, now you're in a scenario where you could draft a double poke bot lane. Sure, it doesn't... And then you kind of have the Jace for that extra poke. So you go like a Karma and then, whatever other poke AD carry you want to try to keep this Corki down, keep this Leona down.
Couple of choices available, and I mean versus a Leona as well. Taking these enchanters is definitely a way to bully them out. So you're quite right that something like a Karma could work out quite well. Nami as well, if they wanted to, can do pretty decent things. If we see all of this engage coming through, one wave could end up being pretty darn impactful. So eyes on to Ultra Prime now. How are they going to round out this composition with the Ambessa taken into the top lane as an answer to the Jace? It's an R5 jungle here for Xiaohao, which suggests that he's got something locked away in his back pocket. And the Poppy taken here by Ultra Prime. Again, so much flexibility, right? This Pantheon and Poppy, double flex between both of them. The Rise and the Jace, double flex between both solo laners. It looks like Wako here looking to round out this composition without a traditional AD carry. We'll wait for it to get locked in before we fully surmise on what this means. But for the time being, Ultra Prime with a very sort of mid-ranged composition, which has now been fledged out into having that over-the-top support in the Ziggs. Wako in the hands of the Bombardier. We'll have to see if he can keep himself safe down on that bot side and weather the storm of the Corki and the Leona.
Former mid laner, all the way back when he started his career in 2016, back when Ziggs was a mid laner primarily, will be piloting this champion as the Nocturne will be locked in for EDG, rounding out these compositions. Roodood, I have to say, I really like what Ultra Prime did in the back half of the draft. This Ziggs is going to be able to stand alone for quite some time. as long as they can, you know, make plays on the other side of the map if EDG look to go after them. But Xiaohao will be able to move around and is able to shut down multiple abilities from all champions, save for Nocturne.
Yeah, the Poppy is a very powerful pick here. I don't know if it's going to be enough, dare I say it, because there are so many dive tools. This is full-on dive from EDG. They have to go forward and they have to keep doing that. They can't sit around objectives and try to poke with Corki. They have to commit to an all-in. Yeah. The Ziggs is going to win in the poke war. They have got 4 champions that dive exceptionally well, and they've got a Corki on the top of that to try to help out as well, who can Valkyrie forward and potentially catch himself a little bit if he needs to use that as a bailout feature. But with that, you know, we're seeing that EDG are so dive focused. Ultra Prime need to be able to play at that long range and keep themselves safe. They've got a Ziggs to be able to do that. The rest of their composition, though, doesn't necessarily lend itself perfectly towards that. You've got a Poppy, yeah, again, great at stopping some initial engage with that steadfast presence, but looking at Ryze, looking at Pantheon, looking at Jace, they're champions that don't necessarily thwart engages all that well. Might be able to find good fights and find good damage, but again, not the champions that you're after when it comes to denying an engagement.
Certainly not, so going to need a lot of heavy lifting out of Xiaohao here. The pick potential, though, is very strong. You know, we talked about Ultra Prime in Game 2. Junhao and Saber had good pick potential. We're not able to actually link up for that. This time around, they still have it with the Pantheon and with the Ryze as we get into the final game of this best-of-3 series.
And again, for Ultra Prime, coming into this second split, I think there was a lot of expectations on their shoulders that they were going to be a team that, first of all, made it into Group Ascend and that, you know, had their best showing in the LPL, would have been split number 2, but unfortunately that has not been the case. They struggled their way through the placements. They didn't end up, even though they ended up in the 3rd place, they weren't able to find their way into Ascend in the sort of the final do or die group that we had over that one weekend. And now we see them in Nirvana, where expectations were that Junhao was probably going to be able to lead them to a pretty successful outings and put them in a really good spot for the play-ins. But really what's happened has been a little bit mediocre for Ultra Prime. They've 1-1'd their way through the series that they have played, and 1-1 in this series as well. Hasn't necessarily been the living up to the potential that this Ultra Prime squad would have had.
It just feels like they're running into teams that are just getting really hot at the right time. Right? When they were in the last chance qualifier, you know, FPX had just beaten NIP to lock the 3rd place spot. Then they beat LGD, which is a team that, again, we had expectations to maybe get up there. And then Ultra Prime had to play against that FPX team, took a game, but ended up losing because FPX was hot. And then Team WE, you know, they got really hot too. And, you know, lo and behold, that team also surprisingly made it into Group Ascend. And right now, EDG is the hot team. And while Ultra Prime was able to strike first in Game 1, the momentum is with EDG going into this final.
And they need to leverage that momentum. Again, a reminder, if we just missed the draft, but want a little bit of a catch-up, this composition for EDG goes forward. It doesn't stop going forward, and it goes forward some more, right? They are a dive comp through and through. So when we hit that level 6 marker, we can expect to see EDG start trying to make things happen, start to pull some engages from their ultimates. But for the time being, I anticipate that this becomes a little bit slower. Well, I say a little bit slower, but a slow early game. Can't get much slower than the ones that we've had for the most part, taking us 8 minutes in Game 2 and 16 minutes in Game 1 to find first blood. But when, you know, we power farming up to 6, the Nocturne special, we can be very clear and very apparent about how we expect that to go.
The good news is maybe Junhao is able to buck that sort of trend. Of course, if Wink happens to get a good engage where Xiaohao is not on top of the steadfast presence, maybe we'll see something, but that's unlikely. He is quite good. So you can see Ultra Prime, Saber specifically, already moving up to this top side here, along with Junhao, looking for a top side dive. Xiaohao is up here.
Just waiting, really, seeing if they can get this dive down. Wave already gone. Ultra Prime bite first, but don't find anything from it. This is actually going to cost Saber as he misses out on a couple of minions in that mid lane and gives Angel what is going to be a free recall. So Might not seem all that apparent of an advantage to begin with, but this is a full wave lost by the Rise. And Angel, he uses the TP to get back to this mid lane, so he doesn't lose absolutely anything. With just a couple of Ruby Crystals in his back pocket, is now going to be able to survive that Rise a little bit better.
And if things stay the way they are, Angel is going to hit level 6 first before Saber, which will have a sizable impact in this game, right? If Angel is able to actually act on it.
Yeah, and that's the big if, right? Is that we need to see something. We've so frequently been a little bit disappointed by our mid-jungle duos, and I think that looking at Rise Pantheon in particular, there is a world where you can quite easily punish a Ahri pre-level 6. However, just that one roam timer that didn't quite work out might end up costing them all of that, and mean that they can't really do anything until that level 6 marker comes through, and by that point it is too late. So just one roam not quite working out for Ultra Prime might have costed them all of that early game leverage or all of the early game prio that they might have thought that they should have.
And it's so tough because you don't get a kill off of it, which is what you expect when your Goon Squad Rise and oh, hold on, wait, you might see a kill up here. Zhang, the 1v1 king, will elect to turn around and get that last attack off. Gets the full plate too. Good stuff there from the top laner from Ultra Prime.
It just doesn't quite get the wave crashed under the turret, but no, you talked about this in the draft as well, Yanni, that this is going to be a tough lane for the Ambessa. ZDZ not quite able to weather it nearly well enough, and first blood going down on that top side for Zhang. Nicely played as well. Means that he's going to get a wave that just about bounces back towards him and gives him now an even better position. Might just be able to walk up, catch a freeze, and mean that the Ambessa is in even worse position. You can already see Saber walking his way into that top side. It's just recalling, which is a little unfortunate, but the Ambessa's wave is about to bounce out, so this would have been a really good timer to walk up here, and you can see that Xiaohao has spotted this. Junhao has spotted this as well, and maybe ZDZ probably not going to fall victim here, but he's not going to have a good time on this top side.
Yeah, he might find himself in trouble. All right, Ward's going to go down. Junhao's going to get there. They're going to be able to take out this pink. ZDZ does want a piece of the action. It's a 3v3 for right now. Ahri will have the first move. So we're just clearing out vision here. A lot of mean mugging. As you see, Angel's already on the way up. Saber now hitting level 6. We'll be able to realm warp, but this does mean that EDG will get the first opportunity on the Grubs. And remember, we talked about later on in the game, this Ambessa in the side lane will be difficult to control. Just getting any Grubs over would be nice. Ultra Prime will begin to move in here. So it looks like EDG are only going to steal one away.
And it feels bad for your bot laners this time round because they're just, you know, they're POV simulator right now. Cool picked up, Tier picked up for On. He does not care. Oh, I say that again. All I need to say to people is they do not care to fight, and they seemingly start to engage.
You said it earlier in the broadcast.
Yeah, exactly.
They will seemingly fight over nothing.
This is why On shouldn't have fought, for the record.
Yeah, On took TP too. He doesn't have a defensive.
Yes.
Oh, hold on. We got a flash onto ZDZ. There's a good ultimate there, trying to keep himself alive with Pantheon right on top of him. Xiaohao trying to get in there, but big damage is going to be coming through from Zhang. He's able to take out Ambessa again. Xiaohao trying to get away. No more damage, so Xiaohao will get away, but it's a second kill for the Jace.
All right, and Wink just sort of walks up to shepherd the Nocturne back to base. A nice play on the top side, though, for Ultra Prime, getting those ultis down as well. We're expecting that the level 6 marker would be when EDG could start to push the envelope. Not quite the case this time round, as it's Ultra Prime pushing that trigger and finding themselves an early fight. Xiaohao flashes on top of the Ambessa. ZDZ does very well not to use any of his spells and get caught out, but it ultimately does not matter. The Pantheon ulti comes through, and all of the damage from Zhang, really, really powerful. The guy that won them this 1v1, that got them blue side for game number 3. Now 2-1 and 0 on this Jace, the B1 pick for this game 3. All of the draft resources, everything that you earn from blue side has gone into Zhang in that draft and in the game as well. It's the exact same instance. Everybody's piloting and pulling for this Jace to be a threat.
Round 2, Xiaohao up here first. Wink also here, going to sweep out that ward. Xiaohao down a level right now. So it is worthwhile to note, as they are clearly investing even more resources into this Jace, and you know, why not, right? You want this Jace to be able to continue to dominate. Eventually this Ambessa will get strong. You want to keep her down for as long as possible. Get as much gold as you can on this Jace, so when the team fights come around, this Jace will be able to get this Rise, to get the Ziggs into the later stages of the game where they are at their strongest.
First straight goes down in favor then of Xiaohao. EDG putting themselves up just that first neutral objective, which will be marked off against for the objective feat. Again, feat's not really something that have proven to be ultimately game defining, but do give us a good metric of who's coming away stronger in that early game. Neither one of our mid laners as well, I want to do quickly point this out, have finished their Rod of Ages yet. In an era of Rod of Ages mid laners, it's important to look at when people are stacking those up and when they are getting finished, because for those unfamiliar or for those who are very much old guards of League of Legends, Rod of Ages still functions similarly to how it did when it was originally in the game, but it does now give you a level when you hit that 10-minute marker, so just a full level worth of experience going into your back pocket is actually a very meaningful cash-in as you hit that 10-minute stage. So you are wanting to get there nice and soon, nice and early, and I think that for the Ahri, rushing that item definitely benefits her, and you can see a little bit of a pit stop with the boots, with the tier as well for Saber, which again very much necessary, but it means that at some stage the Ahri is going to spike, and then a few minutes later the Rise is going to hit that too.
Xiaohao with the continued pressure, but Wink is level 6. This is a very notable power spike in terms of ability to get CC down. Would have been a 3v3, but it looks like Ultra Prime will back off. 20 seconds until these Grubs are up. As Xiaohao has backed, looks like he's heading toward this mid lane. This does give Ultra Prime an opportunity to claim the rest of the Grubs potentially. This teleport coming in from Zhang.
3 Grubs on the top side for both of these two teams would be pretty darn important. You can see teleports down to that bot side by ZDZ. So Ultra Prime going to be the one to be able to take this down, and without really any contest, which, you know, in the long run, it's going to end up favouring them quite substantially. Not really a trade to be had down on that bot side either. And looking at the nature of this split push as well, I really like that getting 5 Grubs on a Jace, on a Rise. These are 2 picks that we frequently see move into that side lane and look to try to bully people out. Obviously versus an Ambessa, not going to be the easiest thing in the world, but you can see that Zhang has itemized specifically for that. When he's got this Serpent's Fang locked and loaded early on, it's on him now to be the one to apply that, to stop the shields coming through, or to at least remove as much of them as possible. As a Realm Warp comes
with
through.
The Grand Star fall, sure, the public execution's there, but he ain't getting very far as EDZ. You're going to have to flash away, but the chase down is there. He's so low. Can you land the Q? The minions are in the way. Come on, Saber, get the job done. Instead, the spear shot will get it done. Junhao will claim the feat of warfare for Ultra Prime.
And that's what they need to do with these globals, right? This split push style of composition is really enabled by having this Pantheon in the back pocket. You have a Ziggs as well. There's so many global tools that Ultra Prime can use to overload one side of the map without losing anything on the other. They can look for these plays down on the bot side whilst you're using Ziggs ulti to deny a wave in the top lane. Picture in picture now is an attempted play onto Zhang, which wasn't successful. A good flash gets him out to safety, away from that solar flare, but he is going to lose out on some plates down on the bot side. But the first turret is going to fall, it looks like, down in that bot lane, whereas on this top side, EDG, they're committing to getting some plates. Doesn't like they're going to be able to commit to get the turret.
Yeah, Ana's going to get at least something out of this, right? A small gold lead, but it's not really enough at this current juncture, right? This is where Corki is quite strong. You expect him to be making an impact, at least early on, and as the game goes on, especially with the range that this Jace has, that this Ziggs has, his effectiveness is certainly going to wane. Less than a minute until this dragon is up. We haven't seen EDG take much action here. Remember, you said it. This is the comp that wants to go forward. We haven't seen too many Nocturne ultimates. Angel has yet to make an impact in this game, aside from having a CS lead.
And at some stage, Yanni, we'd like to think that these two teams are going to truly butt heads. But again, the way that we've expected Nirvana to develop is that it's fights for fighting's sake, and that those fights around the objectives, whilst do also happen, it's probably going to be from out of nowhere and somewhere that we're not necessarily anticipating that we're going to get those skirmishes. The experimental hex plate picked up for Xiaohao, and for me, you know, it looks like he's going to be heading towards a bit of danger at the very least as he hops into Saber.
Yep, right into his face. We're going to see a little bit of fight over the crab. Wink is going to come in from behind, turning the lights out of Xiaohao, waiting for a good opportunity to go in. He gets rune prisoned up. Here comes the public execution, and Angel trying to make things happen. As Junhao is down to half. Here comes the ultimate from the Ziggs, doing good damage. As EDZ's got to get out of the fight, but he can't survive. Angel's going to get stunned up. Good ultimate from Wink as they're trying to turn it around onto Saber. They don't have enough damage. Good charm, though, goes down onto him. Saber trying to get away. Angel trying to do his thing. On to the flash forward for good damage. Trying to kill Xiaohao, and he does, but Saber still stays alive, and Junhao is going to be able to trade out here. And Ultra Prime still coming up aces in this fight. A 2-for-1.
And importantly, Zhong was just not here. This was a fight that was numbers favoured for EDG. A composition that needs to go forward, that needs to fight together. We're very, very desynced. A very good Poppy ulti, the Steadfast Presence as well, coming together to buy enough space and to prevent the full engagement from EDG. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a replay of how all that broke down. We can look individually at certain players for it, but Junhao will be able to find a Drake for Ultra Prime, putting them on the board for number 1. They've got 5 out of 6 Grubs as well, so they are looking pretty when it comes to those neutral objectives. Second, the Drake will fall. We'll see what Soul we're ending up with getting as well. So Cloud Soul not particularly important. But it's EDG, again, this team that needs to pull the trigger, but okay, we've Nocturne ulted, don't quite manage to land that onto a key target. Onto the rise for one part. My Ari's going onto the front line. My Ambessa goes in without finding anybody as well. Wako completely left unchecked, and with Wink being sent out with that keeper's verdict, you do feel a little bit awkward about how much the engage actually succeeded. And with On flashing in to take down Xiaohao, that's not a worthwhile trade. It's not a target that you want to be flashing for, especially if it's going to cost you your life.
Yeah, On getting caught in no man's land, essentially. He had to run down to that fight. Meanwhile, Zhang did not care in the slightest. He took that top turret, so that's why the fight not only went the way of Ultra Prime, but just the entire play so convincingly in their favor. They now lead by almost 2,500 gold. A lot of it is on their top side, 1.2k, 1.3k for your top and jungler respectively. And they are one more fight away from breaking this game wide open.
Again, when a composition that dives and that only dives doesn't quite succeed, doesn't quite pan out as you'd like it to, it isn't working, it becomes very, very difficult. You can see just how much damage they're able to do to ZDZ in just one quick short burst. But in fairness, Junhao does take a fair heat back.
Public execution. He's going to go all the way in, but he's going to go down very quickly. The question is, can he kill Pantheon? Xiao trying to do what he can. Gets the fear down, does manage to trade out the kill. Xiao left all alone, but teleport's coming in. Jace is going to be surrounded in just a moment. Saber's not winning this fight on the backside. Zhang immediately flashing out as EDG bite back.
And this time it's a, I'm not going to call it measured engage, but they do get all of the pieces in that they needed to, right? ZDZ goes in, they find a couple of kills, and yes, the Ambessa falls, but Ambessa's 1 and 5 at this stage here, Yanni. We're not too worried about the gold value that ZDZ's giving over. And yeah, it's Nocturne that gets in on top of them. Xiaohao finally finds access, finds purchase on that backline, takes out Junhao, forces the flash out of Saber as well. And this is a bit of an overstay from Ultra Prime on this top side. A quick stun. You think this is going to go pretty well for them, but ZDZ is able to get in, do some good damage, and get out without really losing too much. And then Public Execution begins this re-engage. Keeper's Verdict again keeps Wink at bay, but we can argue that Xiaohao is not actually focusing the right targets with these Keeper's Verdicts. Getting the Leona out when she's already fired ulti, not really the highest agency pick that you could look for.
Yeah, and Zhang, you know, the lights went out so he couldn't teleport, and then once the lights come back out on, like, he immediately teleports, and Xiao's just like dead. So it's like, oh, this is not the greatest teleport in the world, right? And of course, Wako couldn't really get to that fight, so the numbers advantage was there for EDG, and now numbers advantage here for Ultra Prime as they are in the river first. So the Rift Herald getting lower and lower. You really want to secure this if you're Ultra Prime. It is going to reset. Xiaohao in the back of the pit. Now they're going to turn onto Leona, Wink down to half HP, and then knocked away. On trying to get in what damage he can. Angel trying to hang around, but he might get engaged on here. He will be able to ult away, but he's below half HP, which should secure the objective here for Ultra Prime.
Yeah, this is Ultra Prime's bag, right? Where you just sit around an objective and get poke in. This is where Wako's going to shine. So Ultra Prime are more than happy to just sit around and take those short order skirmishes, get that little bit of chunk of change as well for the Rift Herald that they're going to cash in a little bit later on. their composition just thrives better. And again, we talked a lot about the Ultra Prime organization and what this means for them in this, not just this series, but the groups as well. For EDG, a reminder of their sort of, we'll call it briefish history, a team that went to Worlds in 2022, only made it to quarterfinals, but had great successes in 2022, but in recent years has really struggled. You know, 16th place at the end of 2024 in the regular season. Now in Group Nirvana as well for 2025 in split number 2, really not quite having the outcome that you would expect of this EDG organization. It comes off of having these massive names, having a massive org, being the LPL's third most killing team in existence, and being in Nirvana and what looks to be in a good position in Nirvana as well with this 2-0. It's good to see that at the very least they are beginning to turn themselves back into a position that fans will remember. And maybe this isn't going to be the roster that takes them back to Worlds and starts reclaiming that former glory. But the idea that they can sit back, that they can rebuild, that they can have themselves a decent time of things at the very least in Nirvana, and maybe make a bit of a run at the play-ins as well, is going to go pretty well for them.
A team of veterans doing what they can to try to make sure they survive in Nirvana and get a shot to get into the playoffs. Quick pause here. So we are not clued in onto what exactly the pause is about, but once we have information, we will share it with you. If we can.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I like that you talked about Ultra Prime, because we talked about how incredibly young this team is, right? Like, Jung started playing competitive in 2023. 2024 was his first full year, right? Junhao was BLG Juniors from 2023 is when he started, right? Saber, Ultra Prime Academy last year was his first competitive year. Obviously, Wako, the outlier. Been around for a little bit. And then Xiaohao, right? Yeah, 2016. Xiaohao, on the other hand, was a sub on BLG Juniors, in 2022. Really started getting playing time in 2023, and then started getting more throughout 2024. So even then, he's like the eldest of the young players, essentially. And even still, that doesn't have a ton of experience overall. So, there is plenty of room for this Ultra Prime team to grow, which is why I'd really like to see them get into this top half of Group Nirvana, or the top third, I guess, to challenge against these playoff teams, but really just want to make sure they don't finish in the bottom half, because this team really, really needs this experience.
Yeah, it would probably, we've already seen teams in Group Nirvana make roster changes to try to stop themselves from getting demoted, right? Or even getting demoted, but getting a chance at playing in Split 3. And ultimately the teams that do lose out, that do go and not play until 2026, there's probably going to be roster changes on those as well. So if this Ultra Prime roster wants any chance at growth and any legs in sort of keeping themselves going, would expect to see them in at least the top 4, ideally the top 2. As I think, looking at it, we are about ready.
We're back.
It looks like people are back and ready to get on and onto the Rift.
I see what you did there. Onto the Rift. As On was the first one showcased when we came back in. But what's being showcased is now this Rift Herald getting dropped down here at the 20-minute mark. Ultra Prime perhaps looking for this Dragon. We'll get good damage in. Wako will be able to knock down that turret. That is Ultra Prime's third of the game. And the gold lead, they're hoping to tilt it back in their favor after EDG winning the most recent fight to kind of stem the advantage and the momentum that Ultra Prime had. This Dragon down to about 7,000 HPs. It looks like EDG might fancy themselves a fight. Is everybody congregating around 4,000 HP? Comes the ultimate out from the Leona. They're going to land the Charm down as well. The Pantheon getting lower and lower. Hammered out is this Ambessa. Going all the way to the back line is Xiaohao. He's got to flash out. No kills to be had, but Wink died on the backside. Now Angel going to be the target. Charm not going to land ZDZ in the fight full HP. But they turn on him because nobody's behind him. No help for this man. Realm Warp just to scare off the members of EDG, and Ultra Prime go back to the Drake.
Oh, Mega Inferno Bomb doesn't quite find on, and for Ultra Prime, another one fight down on the spot side. It was close. It was quite a tense fight there, but it's another one where this EDG roster just aren't on the same page, and you know, we're seeing early engage from Wink where he commits his ultimate, commits the early charm in from Angel. So we'll take a look again. But look, this is 2 versus 5 that you're committing to this. Angel goes in. Yes, we call for paranoia, but look how disciplined Ultra Prime are. They're stacking on top of each other. They can see, making it so difficult for the Nocturne to ever go in. The second he does, he has to flash out immediately. And then we see ZDZ attempt to go forward, but the rest of the team are just zoned away. They don't have any cooldowns left up, and fortunately for Ultra Prime, they have enough damage, they have enough consistent DPS in the Ziggs in the Rise to get through anybody who dare challenge them.
Yeah, and Best is strong, but he's not that strong, ZDZ. So 1-6-3, not his best game. But again, you know, a lot of those are because he's been picked on, but that particular fight, you know, as you said, a miscommunication that sunk EDG. They're now down 2,000 gold. Again, it's not getting terribly, terribly worse, but Ultra Prime is still looking to really ensure they stay in the driver's seat here, looking to win this match and breathe a sigh of relief and get to 2 wins, which we may think is the magical point here. Otacon started up on the top side by Saber and Junhao. They have a lot of damage. The rest of the squad is coming through. Does not look like EDG is in any position to stop this. And these blood petals, they are so worth it.
Yeah, they really are, and there's going to be a bunch picked up for Ultra Prime as well. But I do want to think that EDG can still win this game. I mean, they've just not executed on their composition the way that they're supposed to just yet. I think when we actually see them, if they can ever execute properly and go all 5 in and make that input happen, in my head, it looks a lot better than what I've seen, but I'm tentative, I'm skeptical rather, of what Xiaohao will be able to accomplish on this Poppy. He's got that steadfast presence which can lock up 2-3 people, but I think even once they're in there, they will still just do the damage. It depends on how much we can see from Saber, how much we see from Zhong and their DPS in these team fights. Because this Jace isn't getting any weaker, right? Like 2 items, and honestly, as far as team fight items go, the Serpent's Fang not really the greatest. It's great for the 1 versus 1, and honestly great for blocking Locket as well, it's worth saying, but the idea that this would be like an Eclipse or something like that would put the Jace in a much better standing.
Yeah. Remember we mentioned that Junhao and Zhong just need a bridge for Saber and Wako to get there. CDZ maybe once in, Junhao's going to get stunned up here, but no further engagement. Angel coming in from the backside. They're going to go all the way in onto this Rise. Charm goes down. They're going to target out the Pantheon.
There we go.
Big shields there. Junhao survives for a while, but goes down.
It's a good
now,
start.
Zhao wants a little bit more, but he's down below half HP. Zhong trying to join the fight. And Wako had good damage there, but no kills to be had. But the siege will still be on in the mid lane here.
Yes, they thwarted a kill, but haven't really thwarted the siege here, as even despite the fact that they're down on numbers, it's Ultra Prime who are able to walk in and take that objective that they were after. I like the effort from EDG. They are also going to translate this into a tier 1 turret in the top side, so it's not all for nothing, or not all for just 1 kill onto Junhao, who is worth mentioning. He was 5-1 at the point, might have had quite the bounty on his head as well. So good to see that that's getting picked up as well by EDG. So signs are pointing to better things for them in this game. My concern is once again that they've still got to do that again and again and again to get themselves back into a point of semblance. And we've seen them struggle with the execution a lot so far, and the idea that they can fix that in just a quick little conversation might not be the truest.
Yeah, EDG still well within striking distance, still have a lot of fight left in them. It's a departure from the team that we saw in Game 1, where they were unable to put a kill up on the board. Game 2 was all theirs, full domination. In Game 3, they have fought hard when Ultra Prime was in positions to try and put the game away with one more good fight. EDG were the ones taking the good fights. They've kept themselves in it. 35 seconds until this next dragon. Ultra Prime looking to put themselves on Soul Point. We talk about Cloud Soul being a little low on impact at times, but I do think for Ultra Prime, you know, Saber gets it. Junhao specifically, especially him, will see good value out of that.
Yeah, I think that the issue is that with Pantheon specifically, it's actually might be pretty awful, because as soon as you press ulti, you have to do the full channel, and you get the movement speed when you channel, not necessarily when you land.
Yeah, so you don't get it for that long. You get it, but not for very long.
You have to be a speedy little bro. You have to know where you're going, which is fine. I think that Junhao has been there for the
Here we
most
go.
part. We're going
trying
in.
to pick off the Jays. ZDZ is nearby. Public execution doesn't land.
Ooh,
Neither
whoa,
does the
whoa,
ultimate.
whoa,
They
oh,
had
no.
perfect vision, and EDG, with their good vision, are unable to make these plays.
Yeah, is there a Silas in this game? Who turned out whose lights? What happened? There were some skill shots. I mean, great flash, honestly, from Zhong, but other skill shots, not so
coming
good.
through. We're going to go look for the Ambessa of the Realm Warp as well. Multiple members are going to show up. Ambessa now stuck in the pit. Ultra Prime is a little disconnected here. They'll look to link back up and look to take. Oh, the shock blast from downtown. Zhong able to get the job done. That'll be a sole point for Ultra Prime. And potentially looking for a little bit more here, but Saber will not get close.
Okay, looks like they were attempting to set a bit of a trap, but Ultra Prime swept it appropriately. Meant that they were okay to walk back into their mid lane, and Wako's done a very good job at defending this so far. I mean, I'm loving where the kills are going. It's so atypical that we get to see so many kills on our top and our jungler, but Junhao in this game absolutely performing. 8 out of 9 kill participation, by far and away is the most on his team, and just being everywhere that his squad needs him to be, really, is now actually sitting quite pretty on those items, and may well just be able to take down this Corki, take down this Ahri if he ever gets a chance to sit on top. You know, that quick burst fire damage from a Pantheon can be devastating.
One of LPL English Unofficial's top 3 rookies for Split 1, making a noticeable impact in this game on that Pantheon. After in Game 2 being mighty quiet. It's a big reason why Ultra Prime is in the position that they are currently in. But again, they are getting the objective. They are getting a kill, but they are not getting more. They are not really putting the boot on the throat of EDG, as EDG are still fighting for everything that they're worth.
And as they should be as well, right? Like, they're only 2,000 gold behind. Their composition still can function, and as much as, you know, I sort of have been ragging on them for their inability to execute cleanly on these engages, there is going to become a point where it actually doesn't matter how well their engages go, because On is going to be a 5-item Corki with presumably an Infinity Edge, maybe a Bloodthirster as well, and he can out front to back pretty much everybody.
Yeah, the rapid fire cannon too. It's going to be really good for him. He'll be able to at least maybe tag a Wako. You can tag a Saber without being in danger of being rooted up. You know, and staying away from the CC going to be absolutely paramount. As you know, we haven't seen too much come out of On this game. A couple of times where we maligned him for his positioning on the map as a whole. So Ultra Prime have full control of this topside river here. Maybe looking to make a plan to Angel. Angel working with good vision here.
Yeah, and you can see On attempting to at least try to fight back for some control over this river brush. Again, the mid-tier 1 is absolutely fine. You've got Wako here, pops down a couple of spells, and all of a sudden that wave is entirely gone.
We got
Especially with
Pantheon
Saber as well. You know, Pantheon ulting nobody though, I fear. That's
All
got
right.
flash, so he could get over the wall if he'd have wanted
Pantheon
to.
ulted the ward. That ward was looking at him funny.
Hey man, sometimes you got to do that, you know? Like, you ever get vengeance moments, like you're going to die for a ward and you just don't care?
Okay, we might be walking a little too far forward, but a good dodge out on the ultimate. Here comes the Mega Inferno Bomb, does a ton of damage, the lights are out. Who is home? Gonna try to turn it around on to this Poppy. Angel is TP'd into the mid lane, and Joust is gonna fall. Charm goes down, but Pantheon blocking up a lot of damage. Junhao kind of caught here. He's gonna try to go onto the Nocturne. That spell shield was well timed. It's a 1-0 for EDG.
All right, and just like that, it's actually strange because this is where Ultra Prime stepped a little too far forward, didn't quite have all the resources that they thought they did, and EDG just sort of sit back, sponge it all up, and keep themselves nice and healthy. Find a quick kill and sort of weather the storm a little bit here. So we're going to see another minute now where not a lot's going to happen. We can move into a bit more of a lull state. We've got a Drake spawning in 90 seconds time. It would be the soul for Ultra Prime if they're able to get it. So expectations are that everybody will set their sights down on that bot side, and we might get Yanni yet another bit of a banger in this Nirvana group, as we've made it to Group 3. Game number 1 was a complete wash. Ultra Prime stomped EDG without them even finding a kill. Game number 2 was a little bit more back and forth, but by and large, EDG finding successes the second they started, not really letting them go. And now Game 3, we've got both teams on tender hooks, just sort of scared, it feels like, for who's going to be making that first mistake.
Yeah, when you're hyper focused on not making a mistake, you'll get games like these where opportunities may present themselves, but they might not be taken. Nobody wants to take the 50-50 fight. They want to take a fight that favors them. They want to be the ones to win this series. For EDG, that means being 3-0 and putting themselves in a great spot to be one of the 2 teams to fight for a playoff spot in the play-ins. For Ultra Prime, it means making sure that they are a nice little buffer between the bottom 2 teams to make sure that their year continues. A loss here, potentially devastating. A lot of pings coming down. 15 seconds. Is EDZ lying in wait? He's got a blast cone if he wants.
He's going to be spotted on a pink.
Engage on the Wink. Wink at half HP. Here we go. Xiaohao on the backside here. They're going to get on top of the Zigs. They're going to try to peel back, but they can't do so. Poppy Hammer knocks 2 out,
Saves
but it's a
them.
little late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps them safe. Like, Ultra Prime could have turned on that and maybe found a fight, but now Ultra Prime's poke is completely gone. EDG have taken out the Zigs, and maybe we can realm warp into the fight.
All right, we're going to try to turn on the ZDZ. It's a little too far away. The Drakehound step able to get him out of there. Dragon to be secured. Angel has 2 charges in his ultimate left. He's got the charm potentially. Gets engaged on. Junhao's going to go down. The Guardian Angel, though, comes the rest of Ultra Primes. They're going to try to keep their jungler alive. He will respawn. He will be able to walk away. It's a simple 1-0 for EDG, but they do get that objective.
Yes, they deny the soul, they even up the gold, and once again, Yanni, we're no closer to knowing how this game is going to end. Ultra Prime, though, tempo timing a little bit here. They've just lost their jungler's Guardian Angel, who's gone back to base. He has got Grand Starfall to get back in here a little bit quicker.
Teleport coming in. This is a
CCing
mistake.
as well. EDG, they want to stop this.
ZDC public execution's available. Let's see if he's going to rip it. Who is he going to get? He manages to pick up the Rise. The lights go out. Here we go. ZDC onto the back line along with the Nocturne as they force away the Ziggs. One Jiang off to the side too. Saber gets himself out, but that means Junhao is trapped. Is he able to find ZDZ? ZDZ big shielding, and he will go down. And Junhao gets more damage out on the other side. This does mean that EDG, it's a risky start for the Baron if they want it, but they do win the fight 2 for 1.
Oh, it's getting messy, Yanni, now, as EDG do take down 2. Starting to fall into some Nirvana traits as we are getting teams just throwing hands left, right, and center now around these neutral objectives. Zhang checks the Baron here with just a quick shock blast, TP'd back in. EDG find themselves a couple of kills, stop the Baron from Ultra Prime, and this is it's getting dicey, it's getting messy. It's getting to a point now where EDG are starting to control themselves a little bit more as they public execution goes in onto Saber, and the Nocturne ulti really just a taxi to get him into the backline and buy space so that Zhang, Wako can't actually contribute to this fight. Not that Junhao's able to find anything in this game and in this fight as well in particular. Very impressive. One quick auto attack manages to finish off the Ambessa, which might have proven to be the deciding factor on why they could or could not take the Baron. So it's a really small thing just finding that 1 kill there, but might have netted them enough safety to stop the Baron going down.
Now EDG finds themselves with 1,000 gold lead just about. This game is getting mighty intense. Roodood, the Guardian Angel up for Xiaohao. It's still on cooldown for Junhao, so that is something to note. He did keep it in the inventory, not quite at the part of the game where you would be selling it. We're going to try to clear out some vision here on the top side, but Angel going to look to retain that vision. You see how tanky this Ahri is, over 3,000 HP. Very difficult to take down, and now Ultra Prime, I mean, Wako specifically has felt like he has not made the impact that he's wanted to. His poke at times has been very good, but the Mega Inferno Bomb in that fight was just to peel himself. Wasn't able to get it onto key targets. But if there is a fight where he's able to, watch out, EDG.
Yeah, it's about the poke, and it's about the setup around the objectives. That's where the Ziggs thrives. That's where the Jace is going to thrive as well. Is where they can just set up, post up. They can use those shock blasts, use those bouncing bombs, and start to cause havoc before EDT have found that engagement. So, you know, you're trading range with even bigger range, because the Ahri can ulti and engage on you. The Ambessa Public Execution, about the range of a bouncing bomb. Nocturne ulti as well, has the range to be able to engage on a Ziggs really whenever they see fit. It's about finding that opportunity and finding that time to find the engage appropriately. But you can see Ultra Prime just walking around as a massive unit, a massive collective. Because they know if one person shows up on a mid-wave, they'll get Nocturne ulti, they will go down. So they need to make these moves as a big unit so that those threats aren't possible.
Yeah, Xiaohao, we talked about it earlier, only 1 Nocturne ult for a long time, but has really turned it on as the game has progressed. Been very measured with the targets that he's selected. And while it's not the prettiest scoreline in the world, has done a lot to make sure that Ultra Prime's key carries cannot get in these fights.
Now you're playing this sort of a Scryer's Orb bingo where you have to count out and wait for the cooldowns as Angel looking for a flank, didn't find the charm. Ultra Prime have walked their way in. Looks like it's EDZ's job to catch the mid wave and now attempts to collapse.
Here we go. Ultimate goes down, stun onto the Poppy, getting all the way to the backline. This is Nocturne. He's getting blown up. He's in Guardian Angels. EDZ on the backline, chopping them up, doing so much damage. Saber with ZDZ trying to contend with him. ZDZ's got a Drake count step out of there, but the health bars are getting mighty low. Zhang is still low too. Saber can't really get in there. It's another 2-for-1 in favor of EDG.
Yeah, and the Steadfast Presence buys a little bit of time. The Keeper's Verdict buys even more, and somehow, some way, EDG still come out on top in that fight. It's ZDZ who just jumps in. He misses the public execution and decides he's got to use his flash to recover the team fight, and recover it he does. With 3 seconds on the Dragon, likelihood is that they will secure this for themselves and put themselves up to soul point as well. We are 37 minutes into this game. Game 1 and Game 2 were absolute snooze fests of just back at easily one team winning without too much of a contest. Game number 3 though, we've broached the 30-minute marker and neither one of these two teams wants to concede.
They've saved the banger for Game 3, Roodood. Ultra Prime, they're going to need Xiaohao to put in some serious work. It feels like these last couple of fights, he's gone down too early, hasn't been able to use that steadfast presence effectively the way he was earlier in the game when he was able to roam around. ZDZ has largely gone unchecked. 5-8-5, it's a very odd scoreline, but it's been effective lately. Wako on vision as well as Saber. You mentioned that TP is there. Xiaohao ready to go in, turn the lights out with the paranoia. Wink gonna go in, the steadfast presence already getting popped. ZDZ is able to get into the fight. The Pantheon on the backside going down. But here is the Nocturne dying alone. Public execution on top of Xiaohao, but he slams him up into the wall. And ZDZ is unable to live. Saber running down Angel. A very convincing fight win for Ultra Prime. Junhao, the spear is not true. Angel will live to fight another day. Oh, Junhao is locking another one up in the chamber. Is he going to land it? Not quite. And that means the Baron not being done by Ultra Prime, but they might not care. Roodood, the death timers are very long. Wink up in 5.
Yeah. Fancy feat from Angel keeps him alive, but is that going to do anything? Can he even clear these
health
waves?
bars are low.
The Grubs are going to do enough to give them a little bit of a backdoor bonus.
This is risky.
Is back alive already.
All right, Wink getting rejected. They're going to go in. The charm going down. Zhang on the backside trying to do what he can to Angel. The first Nexus turn is going to fall. Angel getting lower, but he's going golden. He might be stuck. Saber in there. They drop the hammer down. Wink will fall. The death timers are still there. Ultra Prime will finish the game. It's prime time, baby. And they knock down the Nexus, and they can breathe easy.
I don't know that that's the case, Yanni. They'll be breathing quite quick, quite pacily after that one. After it took what was a chaotic end to that game, and honestly, against the run of play, that was not how that game seemed to be going. Ultra Prime come away with the 2-1. They finally make it so that EDG lose out on a series, and again, like I said, that was against the run of play. It was EDG who struggled for the first 20-25 minutes to successfully execute on their composition that had seemingly found out the key, found the solution to it. But then one botched fight happens, and Ultra Prime and Saber, I think, in those final fights went so huge, just being a constant DPS threat for the entirety of EDG to try and focus, that they'd never really had an answer to.
And this ended up being a pretty decent prove-it game for EDG, kind of, because remember, EDG's win against LNG was earlier on before the jungle swap, and Ultra Prime's loss to them is no longer equivalent post-roster swap, right? This means that the bar changed for what these teams had, and for EDG, we were like, okay, we need to know if like their win was because LNG was literally hapless, or if they are actually a team worthy of a 2-0 moniker, and sure, they ended up taking the loss here. That game 2 and fighting really, really hard in game 3, this is definitely a team that can contend for one of those top 2 spots. This is a huge blow to their chances, but they're not out of it.
No, and I mean, I think that what this does for Nirvana as a whole is actually, really, really important. It now means that we've got 4 teams that all have 2 wins, those being LGD, EDG, LNG and Ultra Prime. And then we have 2 teams that are sat on 0. RNG and OMG are 0-2 and 0-3 respectively, and are going to have to pull out an absolute miracle if they want to keep playing in 2025. This is a really important series for deciding how the rest of the table looked, and it has split the pack. It has made it so we have a top 4 and a bottom 2. Now the question becomes, where we have 3 teams all on 2 wins, who are going to make it into the play-ins? We're going to have a really close fight up at the top to see which team looks to push on with LGD, who look like one of our better teams in the group so far. But it is worth saying that LGD haven't yet played EDG, haven't yet played Ultra Prime. They've cashed in on their RNG and OMG wins, but they've not yet been able to take the games up against who we see as strong competition in this group.
Yeah, it could get a little weird up at the top, Roodood. And, you know, I think LGD is in a good spot. Certainly the favorites to maybe make it out, especially after 3-0. But we don't know. You know, maybe they have a collapse and the tiebreaker math gets a little weird and they are not locked, right? And they fall and they, you know, wait to see them till split 3. On the other side, you know, for these bottom teams and what it means for them, I mean, it almost guarantees that there's only one chance for one of these teams to get out, and it's probably RNG, because OMG's already 0-3. They still have to play each other, and if RNG takes a loss there for OMG to go 1-3 and RNG to go 1-3, almost guaranteed that you are not getting out. You are done for the year. So, you know, Nirvana, we talk about it as being like, the kids table, right? Well, the kids table's heating up. They're starting to argue a little bit over there. There's threat of food getting thrown around. The mashed potatoes are cocked in the hand, ready to go. And, you know, we'll see what happens. And, you know, it's going to be big this next upcoming, you know, slate of games from Monday onward, because that's going to be 4 games of Nirvana, which is going to really be the week that shapes the rest of this group. I think that by the time we get to the week afterward, those last 2 matches, maybe it's Ultra Prime and LGD is the last match for some sort of placement to see who finishes top 2 and, you know, who finishes 3-4. But this next week for Group Nirvana, if you've been like tuning out, not really taking them too seriously, this is the time. You know, they're going to be really, really exciting to watch. And yes, while it's not going to be the cleanest League of Legends, it's going to be fun. And remember, that's why we love League of Legends, is because it's fun.
I mean, look at that gold graph, right? Like to highlight how against the run of play that was. Ultra Prime, you know, 30 minutes in, they're looking good. 38 minutes in, it looks like EDG have swung their way back into the game, and then like literally one fight goes their way, and Ultra Prime, they find the win again all of a sudden. It was completely unexpected, it felt like, really against the momentum. And ZDZ as well feels a little bit, I don't want to say shortchanged, but had like a really decent game for the back half of it at the very least. And even though he was 1-7 at some stage, right? Like the fact that he popped off in the way he did in the late game just goes to show, you know, score's not everything. If you're getting gold and contributing in these team fights, that's what's important.
Make no mistake, ZDZ kept EDG in this game.
Yes, despite all of the deaths, despite the
deaths. Hey, listen, you know, shoot or shoot, as they say in basketball, right? You're not going to make every shot, and he was certainly shooting. You know, that one play at the Dragon where he went in alone, I think that could have been really good for EDG if they had just taken their dub there. Ended up being not so great. And Roodood, now we have to talk about who we think our final MVP for this game is going to be. I think that the only 2 capable candidates you could give it to for the side of Ultra Prime are Jung and Junhao. But I'd like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably give an argument to Saber as well in this game. I didn't quite get to see the amount of damage that he was doing. I mean, there are a lot of miscues in team fights, which can happen on Rise. But I do think that Junhao, Young are very good candidates as well. So I would be curious to see where the fans and where everybody else votes in who gets that MVP vote, because I do think that both of the top side, or all 3 of the top side really, are up for contention. Zhang felt like he got funneled a lot of resources, right? He got this blue 1 Jace, got given a lot of ganks early on as well. I mean, Saber sacrificed a lot in the mid lane early on, like a full wave to try and dive the Ambessa on the top side just to set up this Jace. So it's about how much do we think that he paid that back.
Saw Junhao hanging tough in that fight that you just saw to make sure that the Baron couldn't be done. Getting all the way in, CDZ again, you know, popping off on this backside here. It's going to be tough. I think the MVP winner might just be, you know, whoever made the impact in this very last fight.
Yeah.
Right?
I think at that stage, you know, look at what Saber is doing. I think he's just largely unchecked, and I think that Xiong as well, maybe a little bit more active, and not just unchecked, but actively, you know, flashing on people, getting in the mixer and sacrificing enough of his HP. Maybe it is just Young that takes it.
Love that. We love to see the excitement out of our coaches. Yeah, I think it's got to be Jung, right? I'm with it. I think that last fight really sealed it for obvious reasons. Really swung around that hammer, made a big impact. 2 hammers are better than no hammers. You got the Poppy, you got the Jace.
Yeah, that's true. It was a hammer diff. We've
Yeah,
not
it
seen
was
one
a
of
hammer
those in
diff.
a while.
It was hammer time.
How did we miss that? That's a saddening.
I don't
We'll
want
remember
to
that.
talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I just thought of it as I said it.
Next week. But I mean, to give us a nice little conclusion as well for our MVP, surely Xiong takes it. Okay.
I'm okay with that, though.
That was,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that was fine. He was KP King in that game for Ultra Prime. You know, most part of the game he was 8 out of 9 at some stage. Like, he did well. We're happy with that. And 5 MVPs for him. Okay.
Yeah, wow. As long as you can say, hey, we're not going to be disappointed if it's given to our second option, we're okay with that here on the unofficial LPL English broadcast. That is going to be it for me. However, Roodood, you are pulling double duty. Mazel will be hopping in with you as well for JDG versus Thundertalk, which is coming up next. Go get some water, get a bathroom break. It's going to be a little bit of time that you'll have, but come back and be ready for JDG versus Thundertalk. We'll see you there.